smelled wrong. Not just bitter. Wrong, like someone had stirred in something that didn't belong. I stood in my kitchen at 6:30 on a Tuesday morning, watching my wife Marta hover over two steaming mugs with the kind of fake smile she usually reserved for her ad agency clients. "Made you a special coffee, honey," she chirped, sliding the darker brew toward me. 22 years of marriage and suddenly she's making me coffee. The woman who couldn't be bothered to microwave her own leftovers was now playing housewife. My name is Will Dexter and I'm an engineer. Engineers notice patterns. Pattern 1, Marta had been cold as January for 3 months. Pattern 2, she'd started working late every Tuesday and Thursday. Pattern 3, her sister Victoria was coming over for brunch, and Marta was being suspiciously nice to me. Victoria arrived 20 minutes later, all fake designer handbag and condescending smirk. She'd been treating me like garbage since the day I married her sister, always making little digs about my blue-collar job and our modest house. Today she's swept in wearing enough perfume to choke a horse. "Will," she said, not even looking at me. "Still fixing toilets for a living?" "Mechanical engineering," I corrected for the 1,000th time. "I design water treatment systems." She waved dismissively and grabbed the mug I'd been nursing. "Whatever. God, I need caffeine." I watched her take a long sip of what was supposed to be my special coffee. Marta's face went white. "Victoria, that's delicious," Victoria interrupted, draining half the mug. Finally, decent coffee in this house. 30 minutes later, Victoria was sprinting toward our powder room like her life depended on it. The sounds that followed could only be described as biological warfare, violent, explosive, and absolutely mortifying. "Oh, God," Victoria wailed from behind the door. "Something's wrong. Really wrong." Marta was pacing the kitchen like a caged animal, shooting me nervous glances. I leaned against the counter, sipping my regular coffee, the one Victoria had abandoned, and watched my wife unravel. "Maybe she ate something bad," I suggested innocently. The bathroom door burst open, and Victoria stumbled out, mascara streaked, designer dress stained, looking like she'd been through a blender. She barely made it to her car before the next wave hit. Within an hour, Victoria had texted the entire family group chat describing her food poisoning in graphic detail. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from concerned relatives, all asking what we'd served for brunch. That evening, I confronted Marta in our bedroom. "Interesting morning," I said, closing the door behind me. She was folding laundry with mechanical precision, not meeting my eyes. Poor Victoria. Must have been something she ate before she came over. "Funny thing about that coffee you made me." Her hands stilled. "What about it?" "You seemed pretty upset when Victoria drank it instead." "I wasn't upset. I was concerned about her." "Marta." I sat on the bed, forcing her to look at me. "What did you put in my coffee?" Her face cycled through emotions. Guilt, fear, then defiance. "You're being paranoid, Will. Maybe you should talk to someone about these conspiracy theories." Gaslighting. Classic move. But I'd been married to this woman long enough to know when she was lying. "Right," I said. "I'm the crazy one." That night, while Marta showered, I checked her phone. She'd gotten careless about hiding it lately, probably because she thought I was too trusting to snoop. Or too stupid. The text thread with someone named Jake made my blood freeze. "Jake, can't wait for our secret getaway, babe. Hope the plan works." Marta, "He's so clueless. This will be easier than I thought." Jake, "Once he's out of the picture, we can have everything." Marta, "The kids will understand eventually. They'll be better off." I screenshotted everything, my hands shaking. Plan? I'm an engineer. I love plans, except when I'm not included. The next morning, Marta announced she was going to Chicago for a client pitch. 3 days, she said. Very important account. She'd be staying at the Marriott downtown, completely unreachable except for emergencies. "Emergencies only," she emphasized, kissing my cheek with those lying lips. You know how demanding clients can be. I knew exactly how demanding Jake could be. After she left, I called in sick to work and drove to our son Ross's college. At 19, he'd inherited my analytical mind and his mother's tech savvy. Perfect combination for what I needed. "Dad?" Ross looked surprised to see me in his dorm lobby. "Everything okay?" "I need your help with something," I said. "It's about your mother." We went to his room where I showed him the screenshots. His face went through the same emotional cycle mine had. Shock, hurt, anger. "That piece of garbage," he muttered. "What do you need me to do?" Ross helped me clone Marta's key fob using a device he'd built for a computer science project. Don't ask me how it worked. I designed pipes. not spy gadgets. But within 2 hours, I could track her car's location in real time. She wasn't in Chicago. She was at the Riverside Hotel, 20 minutes from our house. That evening, I sat in the hotel bar, nursing a beer and watching my wife of 22 years giggle like a teenager with a man I'd never seen before. Jake was everything I wasn't: tall, artificially tanned, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He drove a custom Mustang with racing stripes because of course he did. They were all over each other, hands wandering, whispering secrets, completely oblivious to the world around them, including me, sitting 3 tables away with a baseball cap pulled low and a fake beard I'd bought at a costume shop. I followed them upstairs, keeping my distance, and watched them enter room 412. The keycard reader beeped green, and they disappeared inside, laughing. My phone buzzed. Text from Marta. Client dinner running late. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. Right. I waited in the parking lot until midnight, taking photos of Jake's ridiculous car, memorizing the license plate. When they finally came down, they were drunk and sloppy, groping each other like desperate teenagers at prom night. "Jake!" I called out, stepping from behind a pillar. They froze. Marta's face went white in the parking lot lights. "Will," she stammered. "What are you— This isn't— Chicago," I finished. "Yeah, funny thing about that." Jake stepped forward, puffing out his chest. He was bigger than me, younger, probably stronger, but I was angrier. "Look, buddy," he said, "this is between adults. Why don't you just—" I slapped him, hard. The sound cracked through the air like a whip. "My name," I said quietly, "is Will, not Buddy." Jake touched his reddening cheek, shocked. "You crazy son of a—" 22 years, I continued, pulling out my car keys. 22 years I've been married to this woman, 2 kids, a mortgage, a life. I walked to his precious Mustang and dragged my key along the passenger side, spelling out homewrecker in foot-high letters. "You're insane!" Jake shouted. "I'm calling the cops!" "Good idea," I said, pulling out my phone. "I've got some great photos to show them. Really artistic shots of you two in the hotel bar. Very romantic." Marta was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Will, please, we can talk about this." "We're way past talking, sweetheart." I walked toward my truck, adrenaline pumping through my veins like rocket fuel. Behind me, Jake was screaming about pressing charges and making me pay for his paint job. "Will," Marta called out, "don't you dare tell the kids!" I turned back, looking at this woman I'd loved for half my life, and felt nothing but contempt. "The kids," I said, "deserve better than a mother who tries to poison their father." As I drove away, Jake's friend, a thick-necked guy in a tracksuit, came running from the hotel lobby. In my rearview mirror, I saw him pointing at my truck, talking rapidly into his phone. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The next morning, tracksuit guy was waiting in the hotel parking garage when I came back to plant a GPS tracker under Jake's car. He chased me through 3 levels of concrete and fluorescent lights, his footsteps echoing like cracks of thunder. I hit the fire alarm on level 2, and the whole building erupted in chaos. Sirens wailing, emergency lights flashing, people streaming out of stairwells. In the confusion, I slipped away, leaving tracksuit guy explaining to security why he was chasing a guy with a fake beard through a fire emergency. Turns out, when you catch your wife cheating, you don't get closure, you get a target on your back. The gossip explosion started at Victoria's office. I'd edited the bathroom disaster footage from our security camera into a highlight reel and anonymously sent it to her company's Slack channel with the subject line, "When brunch goes wrong." By noon, it had been forwarded to every group chat in the family. Victoria was mortified, Marta was furious, and I was just getting started. Ross helped me hack Jake's Instagram account. Not hard when the idiot used Mustang 2023 as his password. We posted his entire DM history with Marta's boss, Dave Millant, including some very revealing conversations about work trips and client entertainment. Dave: "Marta's definitely earned some extra vacation time, if you know what I mean." Jake: "She's earned a lot of things. Too bad her husband's too stupid to notice." Dave: "Some guys have all the luck and none of the brains." The posts went viral in their industry circle within hours. Dave's wife saw them. So did his boss and his church group. That evening, Jake and 2 of his gym buddies cornered me at Murphy's Tavern, where I'd been meeting with Ruth Goldman, my lawyer and old college friend. "You think you're real clever," Jake said, sliding into the booth across from me. His friends flanked him like bookends, all muscle, no brain. Ruth had left 10 minutes earlier, but she'd given me exactly what I needed. A legal strategy that would destroy Marta financially while keeping me out of jail. Clever enough, I said, sipping my beer. How's the car insurance claim going? You're going to pay for that, old man, with interest. Old man, I laughed. I'm 42. You're what, 39? That's not old, Jake. That's just experienced. He leaned forward, trying to intimidate me. Experience won't help when my friends here explain the situation to you. I had anticipated this. The bar was crowded, full of witnesses, and I'd already talked to Murphy, the owner. He owed me a favor from when I'd fixed his kitchen plumbing for free. You know what I love about engineering? I asked conversationally. Physics, cause and effect, action and reaction. I accidentally knocked over my beer, sending it cascading across the table and onto Jake's lap. He jumped up, cursing, slipping on the wet floor in his expensive dress shoes. Down he went, arms windmilling, landing flat on his back in a puddle of beer and peanut shells. The entire bar erupted in laughter. I see you're used to being on the floor, Jake, I said, standing up. Marta mentioned you were flexible. His face went purple with rage, but Murphy was already there, along with two regulars who looked like they bench-pressed pickup trucks for fun. Problem here? Murphy asked, wiping his hands on a bar towel. No problem, I said, dropping a 20 on the table. Just a little spill. Jake's friends helped him up, but the damage was done. Half the bar was filming with their phones, and Jake's humiliation was already being uploaded to social media. This isn't over, he snarled, beer dripping from his hair. No, I agreed. It's not. The next day, Dave Millant called me at work. Marta's boss, the same guy who'd been enabling her affairs, suddenly wanted to be my best friend. Will, buddy, I think there's been some misunderstanding, he said in that slimy voice that made my skin crawl. About Marta and Jake. What misunderstanding? Well, you know how office relationships can be misconstrued. Innocent friendships, team-building exercises, team building, I repeated. Is that what we're calling it? Look, I like you, Will. You seem like a reasonable guy. Maybe we can work something out. Keep this between us. What did you have in mind? Well, Marta's a valuable employee. It would be a shame if her personal life affected her career. Bad for everyone involved. I almost laughed. He was trying to bribe me to keep quiet about his involvement in the affair. Dave, I said, I appreciate the call. I really do. But here's the thing. I'm not reasonable anymore. I'm angry. And angry engineers are very, very dangerous. I hung up and immediately called Ruth. How quickly can we move on the asset protection? I asked. Give me 48 hours, she said. Your wife won't know what hit her. That evening, my daughter Amelia came home from school, upset. At 17, she was smart enough to sense the tension, but young enough to hope her parents could work things out. Dad, she said, sitting at the kitchen table while I made dinner. Mom's been acting weird lately. She keeps asking me about college plans, whether I'd want to live somewhere else. My heart clenched. What do you tell her? That I want to stay here, with you. She looked up at me with eyes that were exactly like mine. She's leaving, isn't she? I couldn't lie to her. I think so, sweetheart. Because of that guy, Jake? I nearly dropped the spatula. How do you... I'm not stupid, Dad. She's been texting constantly, smiling at her phone, buying new clothes. Plus, Ross told me about the screenshots. Smart kids. Too smart for their own good sometimes. What happens to us? She asked quietly. Nothing happens to us, I said firmly. You and Ross are staying right here. This is your home. What if she tries to take us with her? I knelt beside her chair, taking her hands in mine. Then she'll find out that your old man isn't as harmless as everyone thinks. Ruth Goldman was a shark in a business suit. We'd gone to college together, dated briefly, stayed friends when we realized we were better as allies than lovers. She'd built a reputation as the most ruthless divorce attorney in the state, and now she was working for me. This is beautiful, she said, reviewing the evidence I'd gathered. Absolutely beautiful. She's handed you everything on a silver platter. We were in her office, surrounded by law books and case files, planning Marta's financial destruction with the precision of a military operation. The asset transfer is already in motion, Ruth continued. Everything goes into a trust for the kids with you as trustee. The house, the savings, the investment accounts, all protected. Is it legal? Completely. You're protecting your children's future from a parent who's demonstrated poor judgment and questionable priorities. Any judge will see it that way. What about her lawyer? Ruth smiled like a predator. She doesn't have one yet. She doesn't even know she needs one. The trap was elegant in its simplicity. By the time Marta realized what was happening, she'd be financially powerless, dependent on my goodwill for everything from groceries to gas money. She'll fight, I said, let her. Fighting costs money she won't have. That night, Jake tried to break into my garage. I'd been expecting something like this. Desperate men do desperate things. I'd set up motion sensors and cameras, turning my property into a surveillance network that would make the NSA jealous. I watched him on my phone from inside the house, fumbling with the garage door lock like an amateur burglar. When he finally got it open, I triggered the automatic door, trapping him inside with my workbench, tools, and a very angry disposition. "Evening, Jake," I said, stepping into the garage with a bottle of fish sauce I'd bought specifically for this occasion. He spun around, wild-eyed and panicked. "This is harassment. I'm calling the cops." "Good idea. I'll tell them about the breaking and entering." I walked to his precious Mustang, parked in my driveway like he owned the place, and began pouring fish sauce through the air vents. "You're insane!" he screamed, pounding on the garage door. "No," I said calmly, emptying the bottle. "I'm thorough." The smell was indescribable, like low tide at Red Lobster mixed with a sewage treatment plant. It would take months to get that stench out of his car's ventilation system. By the time the police arrived, half the neighborhood was outside, drawn by Jake's screaming and the ungodly smell. Mrs. Lowe from next door was filming everything on her phone, providing commentary like a sports announcer. "Officer," Jake pleaded with the responding cop. "This man is crazy. He's stalking me, vandalizing my property, harassing me." The officer, a tired-looking guy in his 50s, surveyed the scene with professional detachment. "Sir, you're on his property, in his garage, at midnight." I needed to. "He was breaking and entering," I said helpfully. "I have it all on camera." The cop looked at Jake's fish sauce-soaked car and shook his head. "Son, you need to leave now and don't come back." As Jake drove away in his stinking Mustang, windows down, gagging on the smell, Mrs. Lowe gave me a thumbs up. "Best entertainment we've had in years, Will," she called out. Turns out, revenge smells like low tide at Red Lobster. The next morning, Marta tried to take Amelia in the middle of the night. I'd been expecting this, too. Ruth had warned me that desperate spouses often try to grab the kids as leverage. I was waiting in the driveway when Marta's car pulled up at 2 a.m. She had suitcases in the back seat and a wild look in her eyes. "Amelia," she called toward the house. "Come on, honey, we're going on a trip." "She's not going anywhere," I said, stepping out of the shadows. Marta jumped, clutching her chest. "Will, you scared me." "Good. Now get off my property." "Our property, and I'm taking my daughter." "Your daughter is 17 years old. She can choose where she wants to live." As if on cue, Amelia appeared in the front doorway, wearing pajamas and a defiant expression. "I'm not going with you, Mom," she said clearly. Marta's face crumpled. "Honey, you don't understand. Your father has been lying to you, manipulating you." "Like you lied about Chicago?" Amelia shot back. "Like you lied about working late? Like you lied about loving Dad?" "That's different." "No, it's not." Amelia walked to my side, taking my arm. "It's exactly the same." Marta lunged forward, trying to grab Amelia's other arm. "You're coming with me. I'm your mother." I stepped between them, and for a moment I thought Marta might actually try to fight me. Her face was twisted with rage and desperation, her carefully maintained facade finally cracking. "Move, Will," she hissed. "No!" Ruth's car pulled into the driveway, followed by a social worker we'd contacted earlier. Everything documented, everything legal, everything designed to protect my kids from their unstable mother. "Mrs. Dexter," the social worker said calmly, "your daughter has expressed her preference to remain with her father. Given the circumstances, we're going to respect that choice." Marta looked around wildly, at me, at Amelia, at the growing crowd of neighbors who'd been awakened by the commotion. Her perfect life was disintegrating in real time, and everyone was watching. "This isn't over," she whispered. "Yeah," I said. "It is." Jake's desperation reached new heights when his Instagram humiliation went viral. Someone had recorded his fish sauce meltdown and set it to music, turning him into a meme. Fish sauce Jake was trending locally, and his reputation was in ruins. He tried to attack me at Marta's ad agency after hours. I'd gone there to collect some personal items Marta had left behind. Photos of the kids, mostly. When Jake and two friends cornered me in the parking garage. "You think you're so smart," he snarled, brandishing a tire iron. "Let's see how smart you are with a broken skull." The agency building was supposed to be empty, but Jake had somehow gotten inside. He'd been waiting, planning this ambush like some kind of discount movie villain. "Jake," I said, backing toward the stairwell, "this is a really bad idea." "Shut up! You ruined my life!" "You ruined your own life when you decided to sleep with my wife." He swung the tire iron, missing my head by inches. I ran. What followed was the most surreal 20 minutes of my life. Jake and his goons chased me through 4 floors of empty office space while I turned the building into an obstacle course from heck. I'd worked on the building's mechanical systems 2 years earlier, so I knew every pipe, every electrical panel, every maintenance access. Jake knew nothing except how to look good in a suit and steal other men's wives. First floor, I triggered the fire suppression system, flooding the lobby with foam and setting off alarms that could wake the dead. Second floor, I loosened the connections on the water cooler, creating a slip and slide that sent one of Jake's friends sliding into a wall. Third floor, I activated the motion sensors for the automated lighting system, creating a strobe effect that left them stumbling around like drunk teenagers. Fourth floor, I accessed the building's PA system and started broadcasting their chase live to anyone listening to the security frequency, including the police, who were already responding to the fire alarms. "This is Jake Turnbull," I announced over the speakers, "currently committing assault with a deadly tool at 425 Commerce Street. He's the guy from the fish sauce video." Jake was screaming incoherently, swinging his tire iron at shadows and security cameras. His friends had abandoned him by the 3rd floor, smart enough to realize this was a losing battle. When the police finally arrived, they found Jake alone in the executive conference room, surrounded by overturned chairs and broken glass, ranting about fish sauce and Instagram videos. I was in the parking lot sitting on the hood of my truck, live streaming the whole thing to Facebook. And that, I told my growing audience, is how you deal with homewreckers. The video got 10,000 views in the first hour. But Jake wasn't done. 2 days later, he showed up at Dave Millen's house party, a company gathering where Marta was desperately trying to salvage her career. She'd been demoted after the Instagram scandal, but Dave was giving her one last chance to prove herself. I crashed the party. Dave had actually invited me, probably hoping to smooth things over and avoid any more public embarrassments. "Will," Dave called out when I walked into his backyard, where 50 of the city's advertising elite were sipping wine and pretending to network. "So glad you could make it." Marta went white when she saw me. She was standing next to Jake, both of them trying to look professional and failing miserably. "Thanks for having me, Dave," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I brought some party favors." I pulled out my phone and connected it to Dave's outdoor sound system, the same system I'd helped install last summer when he was renovating. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "I'd like to share a little story about workplace romance and special coffee." What followed was the most satisfying 10 minutes of my life. I played the audio recordings I'd made of Marta and Jake's conversations, showed the screenshots of their text messages, and finished with security footage of the infamous bathroom disaster that had started this whole war. The crowd was riveted. These people lived for gossip and scandal, and I was serving it up with PowerPoint precision. The special coffee, I explained, contained enough laxatives to hospitalize a horse. It was meant for me, part of a plan to have me committed so Jake and Marta could take my house and kids. Gasps from the audience. Someone started recording. But my sister-in-law drank it instead, leading to the bathroom disaster you just witnessed, which, by the way, was live-streamed to her company's Slack channel and has now been viewed over 50,000 times. Marta was crying. Jake was edging toward the exit. Dave looked like he wanted to disappear into his perfectly manicured lawn. The moral of the story, I concluded, is simple. If you're going to poison someone's coffee, make sure they're actually the one drinking it. The crowd erupted. Some were laughing, some were horrified, all were entertained. Marta's reputation was officially dead, and Jake's was buried 6 feet under. Dave fired her on the spot in front of everyone while the cameras rolled. "I think it's time for you to leave, Marta," he said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "You too, Jake." As they slunk away in disgrace, the party guests crowded around me, asking questions, wanting details, treating me like some kind of celebrity. But I wasn't done yet. The final act was still to come. The thunderstorm hit at midnight, turning the streets into rivers and the sky into a light show. Perfect weather for the end of the world. Jake and Marta showed up at my house together, desperate and dangerous. They'd lost everything, jobs, reputations, friends, and had nothing left to lose. That made them unpredictable. I was ready. The spike strips were hidden under a layer of leaves in my driveway. The security floodlights were motion-activated and bright enough to illuminate a football stadium. The sprinkler system was rigged to activate on command, and I'd positioned cameras to catch every angle. "Will Dexter!" Jake shouted from the street, rain pouring down his face. "Come out here!" I stepped onto my front porch, wearing a rain slicker and my biggest smile. Half the neighborhood was watching from their windows, and Mrs. Lowe was live streaming everything to Facebook. "Evening, folks!" I called out. "Lovely weather we're having." Marta stepped forward, her hair plastered to her skull, makeup running in black streams down her cheeks. She looked like a horror movie villain. "You destroyed my life!" she screamed. "You took everything from me!" "I didn't take anything," I replied calmly. "I just gave you exactly what you deserved." Jake slammed the accelerator, trying to intimidate me by revving the Mustang. The fish sauce smell was still there, even in the rain, creating a nauseating cloud around his car. "We're going to take everything from you," he yelled. "Your house, your kids, your pathetic little life." "With what money?" I laughed. "You're both unemployed. Your credit is ruined. Your reputations are destroyed. You couldn't take a free sample from Costco." They drove up my driveway, tires spinning on the wet pavement, heading straight for my garage. The spike strips did their job perfectly, shredding all 4 tires and sending the Mustang sliding sideways into my carefully positioned garbage cans. The security lights blazed to life, turning my front yard into a movie set. The sprinklers activated, adding insult to injury as Jake and Marta stumbled out of the disabled car, soaked and furious. "Welcome to my home," I announced over the outdoor speakers I'd installed that afternoon. "Please enjoy your stay." Jake came at me with a baseball bat he'd grabbed from his car. I was ready for that too. My garage door opened, revealing a banner I'd hung that morning. "Cheaters park here." Below it, a collection of printed screenshots, text messages, and photos documenting their entire affair. The neighbors were coming outside now, drawn by the spectacle. Some had umbrellas, some didn't care about the rain. All had phones, recording everything. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "I present to you Jake Turnbull and Marta Dexter, home wreckers extraordinaire." Jake swung the bat at my head. I ducked, grabbed a garden hose, and sprayed him full in the face. He slipped on the wet concrete, went down hard, and the bat went flying. "Dad!" Amelia appeared in the doorway, wearing her pajamas and the biggest grin I'd ever seen. "The police are on their way. Perfect timing, sweetheart." Marta made one last desperate play, lunging for Amelia like she was going to drag her away by force. But Amelia was ready. "Mom," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the yard. "Everyone needs to know what you really are." She held up her phone, which had been recording the whole time. "You tried to poison Dad with laxatives so your boyfriend could have him committed and steal our house. You lied about work trips to sleep with this loser. You abandoned your family for a guy who drives a car that smells like rotten fish." The crowd of neighbors murmured and pointed. Someone started clapping. "You're not my mother anymore," Amelia continued. "You're just a stranger who used to live here." Marta collapsed to her knees in my driveway, sobbing hysterically. Jake was handcuffed by the arriving police officers, still reeking of fish sauce and failure. 22 years, I said, looking down at the woman I'd once loved. 22 years I gave you everything I had, and you threw it away for this. I gestured at Jake, who was being loaded into a police car for trespassing, assault, and destruction of property. "Will," Marta whispered, "please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over." "No," I said simply. "We can't." The police took their statements, the neighbors went back inside, and the storm began to clear. Jake was driven away in handcuffs, facing charges that would keep him busy for months. Marta was left standing in my driveway, soaked and broken, with nowhere to go and no one to help her. "Remind me to buy decaf next time," I told Amelia as we watched Marta walk away into the night. My daughter laughed, the sound clear and bright in the aftermath of the storm. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart. Now let's go inside. We've got a life to rebuild." As we walked toward the house, I looked back one last time at the wreckage in my driveway. The disabled Mustang, the scattered garbage, the soggy banner proclaiming victory over the cheaters who'd tried to destroy my family. Justice, I realized, doesn't always come from courtrooms and lawyers. Sometimes it comes from spike strips and fish sauce, from security cameras and neighborhood witnesses, from a father protecting his children and a man reclaiming his dignity. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim.